Hello. Well, maybe I should do it on the other one. Huh. Hello. Sorry, I'm working between two different machines right now. One's an Apple product and one's a Microsoft product, so you have to bear with me with the double screens. My name is Shane Cook. I am actually not a senior. I'm a junior at BYU Idaho, but I am doing my senior project. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to do for my senior project, I was currently starting a business with my wife. And one of the things that we found difficult was inventory management. To give you a bit of a background of what our business is, it is a online retail for trading cards. So things like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, stuff like that. Anyways, um, when we started to acquire large amounts of cards, we found it was quite difficult, munging through where everything was, when we'd get like X amount of orders per day. There were so many different sets we were working with. It was just kind of difficult. The idea of my project came to light. The current name of it is TCG Crystal Ball, and the name is probably going to get changed because I'm starting to like it less every single day. But TCG Crystal Ball stands for Trading Card Game Crystal Ball. The idea behind it is it would allow somebody, like a shop owner such as us, that wants to utilize an inventory management system to be able to do so and sync it up with TCG Player, which is a company and the largest online store for purchasing hobby cards and stuff like that. Without further ado, I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to take a quick look at TCG Player. So this is what a typical TCG Player store looks like. If you're I should probably move this. Huh? Hold up. There we go. This is a typical store. We are level 4 sellers, of course, because we're cool. No, I'm just kidding. We've been doing it for a little bit. And this is what your inventory looks like. This is what the home looks like. It's pretty cool. Um, so the first thing that someone like us would want to do. Like, let's just say we acquired a ton of inventory. Actually, even better, I'll share an example. Um, if I can, maybe this? No, I'll stop sharing my screen. All right, cool. So like, this box is not full of baby food. It is actually full. Whoa, of trading. Oh, it's on this screen. It's full of trading cards that are unsorted. Do you see how many are in here? I want to say there's like 3,000 that have not been sorted, and it's actually like way heavy. Um, but like that's a big problem for us, right? So we're gonna still have to eventually go and sort it out, but um, when we're doing so, we want to make sure we catalog everything so we know where everything is. So the first step that someone would take to update mass amounts of inventory without individually going through cards, they'd click inventory. You can only do this if you're a level 4 seller. So you're going to click import inventory and you get brought to this nice little screen. There's a lot of options, but for us, we're going to look for what's called an export filtered CSV. So we're going to take this and we're going to use a specific set for this test demo today, and it's called Kaladesh Inventions. There's some pretty expensive cards in here. You could adjust things like the conditions, like if you only want near mint, which we're going to do because we actually only have near mint, and we're going to leave the rest the same. What this is going to do for us, it's going to export a CSV of every single card that is in that set, and then we can update the number. So I'll just show you real quick. We're going to click export CSV. So obviously we got this right here, and I'm going to new share this. So look, we got this super cool CSV. A lot of them are a couple thousand long, depending on how long your set is. Thankfully, this one is not. The reason we wanted to select near mint is because there's going to be light played, moderately played, heavily played, and damaged, and it'll multiply the number of rows by that much. So we have two cards that we're looking at today before I continue. The first card is really expensive. This is Sword of Feast and Famine. This is currently market price for like 260, I think. And then we've got Gauntlet of Power. I don't remember how much this one is, but it's expensive too. So we're gonna add these to our inventory. It's really cool. So we're gonna click this, and we're gonna do it like like we would if it were a large CSV file. So we're gonna look up Sword of Feast. Cool. Looks like there's only one. So we're gonna go over here. Oh wow, it's almost like I have done this before. So there's a couple columns to note. There's total quantity, add to quantity, TCG marketplace. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click one. Okay. And what this is gonna do for us is it is going to add one to our inventory when we submit the CSV. The next thing we're going to look for is Gauntlet of Power. It's all alphabetical, but again, for the sake of the demonstration. So we're going to go over here, and there's a couple things. There's the TCG low price. What is this? So TCG low price with shipping. So we want to look at Gauntlet of Power, and we want to competitively list this too. So we're going to list it for, we'll say 55.98. Just list it like that. So we've got one right here. And now what we can do is we can sort, do a custom sort. Custom sort. There we go. And we're going to go sort by add to quantity. And we're going to do largest to smallest. And what this is going to do for us is going to move these up here. And then we just do our command shift down, and then we can delete everything else. So we've got this pretty CSV file. Okay. Next thing that we're going to do is we are actually going to run a cool program. So if we go over to, let me share my screen. the code. So there's a lot of code here. I'm going to quickly explain most of it. If it doesn't make sense, I'm sorry. I did my best to comment stuff. You know, most of it's self-explanatory. If you don't know what you're doing, probably not a good idea to use this program. It's not super user-friendly, so you have to have a knowledge of programming a little bit if you want to understand it. But anyways, we have 5 files. The TCG Crystal Ball, this is our main file, and it's going to essentially display a menu when it's called, and then it's going to run this do menu input and then get menu input as the argument. Get menu input is pretty much just going to run on a loop unless the user enters a 1, 2, 3, or 4, which would coincide with these 1, 2, 3, and 4 options. And then do menu input will recursively call itself until the user presses quit, so until they're done. And then I have a couple checks in hand just in case there's an issue. So and I'll run it just a minute, the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to convert the CSV file, okay? So converting the CSV file is its own separate thing, and it does exactly what I want it to do because it's catered towards TCG player. Now, if you want to, fork this repo and adjust it, cool. There are a couple libraries we import: CSV, os.path, and then we import datetime from the datetime library. Our main function that we have in here is called convert CSV. So it prompts the user for a CSV file path and a folder path, and then converts the CSV file into a condensed version, which is able to be used to populate the MySQL database. So first things first, actually, before we continue, we are going to take that CSV that we just created with our prices thing, and we're going to go import to stage. So we're going to choose a file, and then we're going to go down here today at 8:08 a.m. and that was us. So we're going to open this, continue. 2 records are processed, cool. So this is kind of like what it looks like. So we're going to view the stage inventory. Oh, wow, so cool. And we're going to move it to live, okay? So this is pretty much what it would look like, the workflow for somebody that uses TCG Player. So we're going to go back over here. So convert CSV, this is the main one. If you run it, it's just going to call it. I have it like this for semantics, but the first thing that it does, we have a validity check, so we're going to prompt the user to enter a path for the CSV file. It'll continue to run until a user enters a file with .csv at the end, and it just makes sure that the file itself exists. So if it pretty much checks everything, it can't validate, if the structure is correct. I could do that, but for now, this does exactly what you want it to do. The next valid check is there's two types of CSVs. The first one, the one that we just export, is called a pricing export. We're going to look at pull sheet later, but the pricing export is pretty important. What this does for us is it just checks, which type of CSV do we want to convert. And it's going to run unless the user, enters either pricing export or pull sheet. The next block is going to read information from the CSV file into the rows list. So we're wanting to take the rows of the CSV file and store them into the rows list. And each row of the CSV file is going to be stored as a list. So it's going to be a list of lists. We're going to open the file, read it in. We are going to take out the condensed header, and I'll explain why in a little bit. We don't want to append the header at all. So I'm actually going to remove that later. It doesn't affect the workflow at all, kind of, but I'll explain why later. So essentially what this does is there are column indexes in the price export that we want. So when we look at the Excel spreadsheet that we have, there's a bunch of things. There's the TCG player ID, the product line, the set name, product name, title, which actually doesn't have anything. I don't even know why this is here. The card number in the set, the rarity, condition, the market price, all of this stuff, okay? And out of all of these rows, we want to select the first, second, third, fifth, sixth, and seventh rows. And those are going to give us the information that we are going to use to store into our SQL database. It's going to iterate through all of them, and then of course it's going to extend the header by adding these four things right here, these four column names. And what this is doing for us is it's giving us a binder number, a page, a position, and date entered. These are important because this is all about where we're going to store the data for our physical inventory, at least the locations. And then the quantity row is 13. So this is when we, let's say I have 2 swords of feast and famine, right? Which that's pretty crazy. Not a lot of people have 2, let alone 1. But we'll pretend I have 2 swords of feast and famine. If that's the case, then for us, we need to enter in the data twice, right? Assuming that they're both near mint, right? We need to enter them twice. So this is going to do is actually going to loop multiple times if, based on the quantity row. And this is where that looping comes in down here. Again, this is the pull sheet. I'll explain that in a minute. This next block parses through the CSV object and then, of course, adds the data into the rows list. This is, again, for the pull sheet. So it's a multi-purpose program. I could have written it twice, but, for the sake of, keeping things together, but it's going to loop through, and it's going to add these to the end of each condensed row. And this is going to be the binder number, page number, and position number, and then it's going to store in that today variable, which we got all the way up here, and it stores it in a format that is SQL friendly. These 3 values we have to enter in by ourselves. The database doesn't have a knowledge of what empty spaces there are, and because of that, we are just going to enter them ourselves. But it also gives us the flexibility if we wanted to put things in a certain position. It's going to append all of these, and yeah, it's pretty cool. And actually, you know what? I am just going to delete this, and this should fix my ick. I'll explain in a little bit.
So this next one right here, it generates a file path, which is pretty basic. There are certain file path formats that I prefer, and that's how I did it. Again, there's a validation check just to make sure that the path to the folder exists, and it's going to run it like that. So we're going to go to our TCG Crystal Ball program, and we are going to run it just so you guys get an idea of how it works. And I've got to move all these Zoom things out of the way. All right. Cool. So TCG Crystal Ball by Shane Cook. Main menu. We've got 4 options. I'm just going to enter 5. It's cool. There is a validation check. So we're going to enter 1, enter the path of the CSV file. So we're going to go into our downloads, and I'm going to get that CSV file that we just pulled. So this one, and then copy that path. And then what type of CSV file do we want to convert? Well, we want to convert the pricing export CSV. And we're going to put it back into our downloads. So I'm going to copy the downloads path. And it does that, and it pops us right out to the main menu. We're going to enter exit so we can exit. We don't need to work anymore for the time being. But now, let's see if I can share my folder. Ooh, there we go, my Finder. Okay, so obviously there's like a lot of stuff in here, but the important thing that we want to look at is this one right here. So as we can see, Magic, Masterpiece Series, Kaladesh Inventions, and the date and the time. So we open this up, and all right, so as we can see, um, we have our CSV file right here. Um, and it's so Magic, Masterpiece Series, Kaladesh Inventions, and then the date, which is really good for us. Now, um, what we need to do is we can take a quick look at our Excel spreadsheet. Yep, all right, perfect. So we're going to get a couple rows. We've got the set, well, the product type, the set, the name, the card number, and then the rarity, and then the condition. After that, we have binder number, binder page, and binder position, and then the dates right here. So as I explained earlier, the reason why I deleted that one thing was because um, it would give us column headers, which are totally great, um, but on at the same time, we don't want column headers when we submit this new CSV to update our database. So this is good. Now I am going to stop sharing so you can see me. Okay, we've got a fresh binder. Very cool. It's Kaladesh. Wow. And conveniently, I've got one sheet. So we are going to start, and I'm going to go back to the spreadsheet, and we're going to start with the gauntlet of power, and we're going to go binder number 1, page number 1, position number 1, and then masterpiece sword, feast of famine, binder number 1, page number 1, position number 2. And to kind of show you how we're going to go about and do that, right here, this top one, top left, is position 1, this is going to be position 2. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in there. He's out of their double sleep right now because they're expensive cards. Do that. Then boom. Perfect. So now they're in here. Close the binder. I want to keep it open longer than we do. And I'm going to double check that if we pushed our inventory to live. So now we can go back and update our database. I'm going to make a quick query. So we're going to go to Zoom and go. Just whoa! Oh, sign me out. Just a second. workbench right back up. Okay, great. So, okay, wonderful. So now you can see my SQL workbench. I'm just going to have this open so when we submit the data, um, you can see that the data has been updated. And then we're going to order by card ID setting. So when we run this query, um, we have literally all of the cards that are currently in our SQL inventory. These are some ones that I recently submitted. You notice that there's going to be a gap. It does auto increment for the card ID, but I was playing around and um, anyways, I submitted one of the card IDs in the 400s, and I've just been adjusting them. These are actually 3 that I recently added when testing this. So now that we have this query like this, we're going to go back and to our program. I don't know why. There we go. All right, so now we're back at our program. We are going to delete my hash. We're going to run our program. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to click populate database. So 3 things are going to ask you when you run the populate database. It's going to prompt you to make a connection, and this connection file will prompt for a host name, username, password, and then you can change the database name. I have it in there because it's the only one I'm using for this program. I called it inventory, and it'll make a connection and then return that connection object. So for us, I'm not going to show you the host name, so I'm going to actually stop sharing because for me, a little bit of a security risk. I'm sure you understand. I don't want anyone just connecting to my SQL database. So I'm just gonna enter this stuff real quick. Right. Shrink everything down so you can't see it. Back up. And then it's going to ask you to enter the path of your CSV file. So I'm going to get the path from the one that we just looked at. It's a masterpiece series, Kaladesh Inventions. And I am going to enter that. And once we do that, we'll be bumped right out to the main menu because everything's done. So let me show you what happened. There we go. All right, if we look in the terminal right here, I entered the path, and then it looks like nothing happened, except when we look at our, what's it called? When we look at our database, so let's go back to Workbench. Sorry, lots of moving windows. So we go back to the Workbench, we can run this again, and then we should see card number or card ID 425 and 6. There we go, just like that. Masterpiece series invention, Kaladesh invention, sort of piece in can, and Colin Power. Now I made a mistake actually. I forgot. It's really important that we save the CSV file, which I didn't do. So we're gonna drop these real quick again. So we're delete where card. Oh, I'm sorry. Delete from singles where card ID. should be deleted. Run that. Yep, they're not there anymore. So I'm just going to go and update it real quick, and you'll see these back with the correct CS file. All right, perfect. So now when we um, look at the database, we can see 428 and 427 are, what's it called, are in there. Those are the two items. The next part is to create a. Sorry, I've been my headset died mid recording. Um, Now we need to, the next part of this is to generate a pick list. So let's double check if there's an order. I don't think there will be. All right, I'll come back to this once I get an order. All right, hello. Wait, hello. um, we're back. We're back. It's been a couple days. It is Monday, May 29th, and we got an order, thankfully, in the news of Magic the Gathering. Fable of the Realm Breaker, Mirror Breaker has been banned today. And funny enough, that is the card that we sold. I listed it pretty low. I wanted to offload that thing just in case. First things first, we're going to go to our MySQL workbench just to kind of show you query that I ran. As you can see, we currently have Fable of the Mirror Breaker in our inventory. It's located on in binder 1, page 15, position 8. Okay. And I can't show you the order screen for TCG Player because it has sensitive customer information. I'm not going to do that. But I do have a pull sheet that you would get from selecting all of your orders for the day. You actually can see the order number. It means nothing to you. But this is what a TCG Player pull sheet would look like. It has all these column headers, information about the card, and this little thing at the bottom. So what we do essentially is we take this pull sheet and we plop it through this last part of the program. And what that's going to do for us is it is going to output a CSV that, well, actually, it's going to do a couple things. First things first, it's going to generate the most efficient picking order for it. So, like, let's say I have a bunch of cards, right? It's going to output all of the cards in a picking order. And what we can do from there is we can organize them by, card and set or whatever, right? However, we want to do it, like, let's say our orientation of the store or our warehouse changes. I move some binders around, we can do some stuff. So anyways, so we've got this pull sheet, and when we go to VS Code, that's going to be my IDE I'm using you have to give me a minute to open it up. Alright, open folder. You have to bear with me, I'm sorry. Is it this one? No. Documents? Desktop. There we go.
All right, so let me share a new screen. There we go. Okay, so we've got our TCG crystal ball. We are going to do a couple things. First things first is get picking path, right? Picking path has a lot of things. The main function, of course, is get picking path. And we have a validation check to check if the CSV file exists, if the extension is correct. There are ways you can get past it, but for the most part, if you're not stupid, you're not going to mess it up. Um, we have a connection that we make to the database, which, as we saw earlier, is this. We get the host name, so it's typically like an IP address or whatever you have set up. Username, password to log into the MySQL database. If your machine is not registered with the MySQL database, you will have a security issue. It won't let you connect. So you do have to have that set up, and I can't show you how to do that because it'll reveal all of my stuff. So that's kind of on you. And then last but not least, the database, right, which is inventory that we're going to be using. So we go back to the get picking path, and we have another list. Instead of rows, it's going to be cards for row and rows. And I'm trying to figure out where I put row or rows. There it is. Yeah, so I actually probably should. There we go. Expand this a little bit. So this first block, this second block right here, the smaller block, this is what's going to read the CSV file into a list of lists, which is important for us. Make that connection, and then this one right here is going to generate queries based off of each row. Okay. I have a preset query that I want to run. You can update and do whatever you want with this. But what this is going to do is it's going to select all of the data based on the query for the individual card. So where product line equals, in our case, it's going to be magic, right? Card condition, near mint or near mint foil. Card number, if we're looking at Kiki Jiki, I think it's like 141. Set name, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, rare. I don't remember what it is. Order by date, entered, and then limit one. So what this is going to do is it is going to order all of the results from that. Let's say I have 5 Kiki Jikis that I've acquired over the past 6 months, right? It's going to order them by date. So the oldest being at the top, because it's technically like a lower date. We're technically ascending. So it's going to have the highest date at the top, and it's going to go down. And then we have this last part of the clause called limit one, and it's going to only return um, one card, which is extremely important for us because it's also going to get the other pieces of information, right? And then it's going to execute the query, and then we're going to use the fetch all method to store that information into this variable called card. What it's essentially going to do is it's actually a list with a tuple that we're going to get from it. And we don't want that because it just makes things difficult. So what we do is we just restore that information. We take the first index of the card list because this is actually technically as a list with a tuple in it. We have the first index of the list with the tuple, and we store that tuple into the same variable card. So now card is just a variable with a tuple with all that information. And what we do is we actually append that card. Now this is the fun thing. We have this next query. We run a second query right after that. Delete from singles where card ID equals, and then we have wildcard, right? And so we run the execute. We have our function, and then we have our arguments. And our argument is a tuple with a single argument. So when you run a tuple, you have to make sure you have this comma in here. There's nothing after it. It's just how Python works. It's stupid. And you actually get the first piece of data that's entered in the card, which is actually going to be the auto-incremented card ID. So it's going to execute that deletion, and that's what's actually going to remove. Um, Sorry, I sneezed. Maybe I might edit that out. We'll see. It's gonna execute the deletion of that card from the database, which is important. So, anyways, last but not least, once all of that's done, we actually have all of this card information stored in here now. So this is a list of tuples, and we got the date. We have another validation check to enter the path of the CSV because we're going to be actually entering or getting a new CSV, which is going to be our pick path. Okay, and then we write all of the information to that CSV file. And then last but not least, this is all great, but if you don't commit any of this to the database, you're just reading, you're not writing, right? And we need to edit our database. We have to make sure all of these cards are gone. So we do db.commit, and it will commit all of the queries that we've made to our database. Um, so any deletions and things like that. That's what it's going to do. And of course, we have our main function and our if name equals main semantics. So we're actually going to run this. Now that we know how get picking path works, so we're going to run it, and we're going to do 3 get picking path, enter the path. So I'm going to get the path. Let's see, I just downloaded it. I think I just downloaded it. Let's see. Should just be .csv. It should be today. We're looking at the 29th. There we go. I can just do date added. Ha! There we go. So this is the path. And then of course I'm gonna not share my screen because it is sensitive information. Don't want you guys logging into my database and using my stuff. Huh. Oh, we got an error. Give me a second. All right. So I think I can show everything now. There was just some things that I needed to adjust. All right, cool. So queries have ran. I think we'll see. Um, and I have to move this little zoom thingy up to the corner. There we go. We're just walking through the code itself. I wanted to make sure it works properly. So yep, checks the directory path being true, creates a new file name, and then writes to the row, and then commits to the database, and then we're good. Cool. So now let's take a quick look-see at our MySQL workbench. If I can do that real quick. I have to close out this. All right. So when we look at our MySQL workbench, we can run a quick query to see if Kikijiki is still in there. And it's not. Pretty cool. It worked. Ah, goodness. That feels good. That feels good. So anyways, now we got to verify our picking path, which is nice for us. So I'm going to open up a new Excel spreadsheet. We'll close the other one. Whoops. No, that doesn't matter. Um, okay. So as you can see at the top, we have, well, actually, hold up. Maybe I can like scroll it down. No, I can't. The little zoom thing's in the way. Can I not move this? Okay, there we go. It says pick path 2023, 05/29. So it's the date for me and the exact time, right? There might be multiple times during the day that I, get a pick path, and that's cool. Um, but most importantly, this is essentially what we're looking at here. So we've got the card ID, um, the set name, or I'm sorry, the product line, the set name, the name of the card number, rarity, near mint. And what we can do from here is we can just use Excel and create a custom sort. We'll just do custom sort all. Not like it's going to matter because we've got one card. Um, but the first thing that we want to sort by is, um, let's see, column H. So we're going to go column H, smallest to largest. And then we go back to our custom sort and we add a new thing, I, new thing, J. So when we run it like this, we've got this query. What it'll do for us, and even then actually we can do another custom sort and add it to the top. If I can move that up here, we can sort this by column C, um, which is going to give us the, um, or even better, we can go like this. Column B, cool. So it'll first sort everything by, what's it called? The set line, set name, binder number, binder page, and position on the page. And yeah, we have these as alphabetical. We have these smallest to largest. And we run it like that. I mean, again, like it's, it is just, it is what it is, right? I can maybe, we'll, uh, we'll make a couple of these, right? We'll have this one be on binder 2. I don't know. I'll just be on 17, right? So when we run this query and we go custom sort, uh, and we do it by these parameters, so column B, then by column C, then by column H, I, and then J, right? We see this. Oh, whoa. So it moved this one to the bottom because it's in binder 2. Um, and yeah. So that's my senior project. It works. It works. You know what, actually, I'm excited to use it in our day-to-day workflow. We currently, like I said, have several thousand cards that haven't been listed. And once we go about doing that, our orders should pick up significantly. And based off of my estimations, this will probably cut the time that I take to sort cards. I'd probably be like 10% of what it normally is, just because I can get the pull sheet from exactly what I need and just run that through here and get a picking order, go boom, 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 boom. I know exactly what goes where, and it just it makes life really easy. So I'm going to continue to work on this project outside of my senior project. This isn't something that I'm like completely done with because I'm going to use it for my business because it's important to me. If you run a TCG business, awesome. This is like super easy for you, especially if you use TCG Player. I have it pretty much set up to where if you use TCG Player and you're a level 4 seller, like this will be nice. You have to organize the binders like I do, right? Unless you're able to, mix and match the positions within the cards. But if you have any suggestions, please, you know, put them in the GitHub. And yeah, I'm feeling good about this one. Yeah, everything works, which is always a good sign. I've done lots of testing. Obviously, there was that little hiccup, well, several little hiccups during the showcase, but hey, it's not perfect, right? But the most important thing is that it works. Now, for me, I learned a lot. I learned that I'm totally capable of building applications that I can use in my life at least, right? And I know other people can too. Will be extremely useful if you have a SQL server that you use. And I know that I learned actually a lot about the um, MySQL and the connector module, which has allowed me to run all of these queries and things like that. I've also never set up a remote SQL server. As I explained earlier in the video, it's a little laptop that's sitting on uh, our clothing drawer, and it's just sitting there plugged into the wall with Ethernet cable and everything. Like it's good to go. I've never done that before. That was really cool for me, and yeah. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, send a comments. I appreciate that a ton. And if there are any more updates in the future that are like worthy of a video, I'll make one. If not, I'll see you later. Bye bye.